Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of 14 Rings, the NFC East podcast. I am your host today, Maurice. Maurice. And our co-host today are Mal, Earl, and once again back for another time is Zach Ciavolella. Zach, welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm happy to be here. I'm ready to talk some ball. This is a big NBA time of year for me, so I'm
Yes, it
really
is.
excited to talk a little bit of football.
Yes.
Because I can't cheat on my other love too much. You know what I'm saying?
I hear that.
Oh, respect it.
NBA draft is tomorrow, so Zach is going to be very busy for sure. All right, so this episode we are talking about the Philadelphia Eagles wide receivers Mount Rushmore. And what we've been doing is we've been going from 1 to 4. I'm going to keep that going. I'm going to start with number 1, and then we're going to go to 4. Because, the back end is kind of the debatable ones. Last week, Lucas had a debatable number 4. So we're going to see if we can agree on the top 4 Philadelphia Eagles wide receivers for the Mount Rushmore. All right, so first, number 1 in Philadelphia Eagles history. And by the way, Zach, this is Super Bowl era. So I omitted Tommy McDonald. So I took him out. But he will be in the Mount Rushmore.
I'll tell you this, Ray Didinger would pitch a fit if he were here right now if you said that.
He would. Shout out Ray Diddy. Yeah, so we're gonna leave out Tommy McDonald and we're gonna go from there. So number 1, I got Harold Carmichael. One of the OGs. I always wanted to ask myself, and so I looked it up. I didn't know. Was he the tallest wide receiver in NFL history at the wide receiver position? And he was. At 6'8", he was the tallest wide receiver in the history of the NFL. That's a cool little tidbit. Obviously, he's in the Hall of Fame. He holds the franchise record for career receptions with 589. Receiving yards, 8,985, and receiving touchdowns with 79. The 1970s All-Decade team. He was actually Man of the Year. I guess it was before they called it Walter Payton Bust the award, but it was still Man of the Year in 1980. 4-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl appearance. What else? Most consecutive games with a reception from 1972 to 1980. So, Zach, I'm going to go to you first. You agree with that?
Yeah, I think that's an open and shut case. Harold Carmichael was just such an incredible player. It's rare that you see, he was one of those, let me pick the word right. I don't want to use the word. He was an anomaly due to his size, right? There's those guys who are just so visually impressive, spectaculars. And you think about a guy like Calvin Johnson between his size and athleticism. I mean, Harold at that height, with that speed, being able to work the outside, like there's guys his height who, he's outsizing tight ends, which is crazy to think about, and he's playing the outside. So, able to do that and be as successful as he was for as many years as he has been, or as he was rather. I think he's no doubt on. Listen, I know it's the Mount Rushmore, and we're not necessarily ranking these guys. He's number 1 if we're talking about Eagles wide receivers. So there's no doubt for sure that he belongs on the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, outside of offensive linemen, you don't see a lot of football players 6'8". You just don't. Yeah. So, Mal, you agree with that? You have someone else?
No, I agree. I had him as number 1 for you guys as well. I think that's pretty undisputed, in my opinion. Like you said, the back half is a little more, I would say debatable, but no, definitely number 1 for Carmichael.
All right, Earl.
Automatic lock. He was number 1 on the Mount Rushmore for you guys. He was a true embodiment of a Autobot. Calvin Johnson is Megatron. He's Sentinel Prime. So
okay,
he was a phenomenal player back in the day. That was before my time. Mm-hmm. And just getting a chance to look at some of his highlights. Big physical guy. He take the top off the defense. Phenomenal player. He's an automatic lock at 1. Case closed.
Okay. All right, so we're going to move on to the second player, the second wide receiver. I went with Mike Quick. Now,
Okay.
he played all 9 years with the Eagles from 82 to 90. His career stats: 363 receptions, 6,464 receiving yards, 61 receiving touchdowns, and he had a 17.8 yards per reception. 5-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All Pro, led the NFL in receiving yards in 1983 with 1,409. And he also had that a very memorable, iconic for Eagles fans, 99-yard touchdown pass from Randall Cunningham. I think it was in Buffalo. Pretty sure it was Buffalo. So yeah, Mike Quick is number 2. Our number 3 was very close. 2 and 3 is very close. I will say that. But Mike Quick is an OG as well. Still calls the games with Merrill Reese. So shout out to Mike Quick. Zach, you agree with that?
Yeah. I gotta agree. I do think 2 and 3 is close. I think we have the same 3. If I'm being honest, because you said that clued me into that. But we'll talk more about that number 3 in a little bit. But what really separates these two players is the touchdown production, right? Mike Quick really was that guy when it came to producing, not only in terms of yardage, but all throughout the field, getting his way into the end zone. So definitely have to agree. And of course, the Eagles legend, he gets a little bit of bonus points for me, just because he stuck around and has been an iconic voice alongside Merrill Reese there. But he doesn't even need it because honestly, on the field, he was a monster.
Now?
Yeah, I had Mike Quick in the second spot too. Definitely a speedy receiver. And like Zach said, he just made big plays. He was a big playmaker. And I think that's kind of what separated my 2 and 3. Not that 3 wasn't a big playmaker, but we'll get to that more when we get to number 3. But yes, I agree with you. I had Mike Quick number 2 as well, and you guys covered it pretty well.
Earl?
Mike Quick, 2. Explosive playmaker, and he was very consistent in the 80s. So credit to him.
Yeah. Yeah, he was in that down period for Philadelphia where they weren't really competitive, but they still had some good players on their team. Him, a young Randall, Reggie White. The defense was just coming along. It's a shame that he wasn't really there when they were really competitive. Yeah, yeah, but we're giving him his just due now. All right, so number 3. Now it's one like this one. Number 3 is Deshaun Jackson. But to be fair though, Deshaun had some plays against the Cowboys too. So Earl can't smile that hard.
Oh no, he was 3 for me on Mount Rushmore. So we probably got the same list. So
yeah, when Lake Lewis was up here a couple of weeks ago, he was saying, I think he said no, excuse me, not Lake Lewis. Dan, but Dan was on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. He said Plaxico gave fits to the teams in the NFC East. I was trying to save it, so I'm going to save it till now. Deshaun wrecked the NFC East.
Yeah, he was a
I
game
think he had
changer.
like an iconic play against every team.
Yeah, I can say that the one touchdown he had as a rookie, it never made it to the end zone because he dropped it at the goal line.
Yeah.
But I digress.
I think Deshaun was the first of many NFL players to drop the ball before they went into the end zone.
He was definitely the first, I think.
That was
one
crazy.
of them.
Yeah, that was crazy. All right, so Deshaun Jackson, he's played 183 games with the Eagles. He's also played with the Commanders as well. 641 receptions, 11,263 receiving yards, 58 receiving touchdowns, and 17.6 yards per reception. He also has 4 punt return touchdowns in his career. He also has a couple other records. Most career touchdowns of 60-plus yards, 26. That's crazy. Deep threat. No matter if it was McNabb, Vic, Nick Foles, it didn't matter. You threw the ball deep to Deshaun, he was going to catch it. Tied for most career touchdowns of 80-plus yards with 5. Led the NFL in yards per catch in 4 separate seasons. Only NFL player to be selected to the Pro Bowl at 2 different positions in the same year, receiver and punt specialist in 2010. So, Zach, you agree with that again?
Yeah, I mean, once again, this is the player that I was alluding to, and it's the touchdowns that separate Jackson and Quick, but the yardage that Jackson was able to rack up is absolutely insane. And of course, we know him as that deep threat, and like you said, Maurice, he has those memorable moments against every single NFC East team. I mean, we remember Deshaun Jackson dancing on the star. Remember the Miracle of the Meadowlands, obviously. Of course, there was that connection with Mike Vick against the Commanders. I do know that Lucas is not here, but I wanted to be sure to mention that. Yeah, he's absolute great
one
performer.
Of his worst days ever.
On his birthday, too.
The shame of it all is the way that it ended. But on the field listen, man, there's just nobody who is as cool as D-Jax either, man. It's just not only his performance on the field, but he just embodied the swag of those mid-2000s Eagles, him and LaShawn McCoy. So Deshaun Jackson, I think, absolutely deserves a spot on this Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, I agree. Mal?
Yeah, sure. No, I'm kidding. Deshaun Jackson was just your ideal deep threat. And, it's fine that he has the longest play in NFL history against my Giants, but great player. Very well deserved to be on the Eagles Mount Rushmore there. When you say that he gave headaches for everyone, I would say I was literally watching that game of the Miracle in the Meadowlands, and me and my dad were screaming, "Don't kick it to Deshaun! Like, just don't kick it to him!" And what did he do? He kicked it to Deshaun, bro. And that was just
who
rough.
else was saying that? Tom Coughlin was saying that too.
Tom Coughlin is somewhere right.
Chewed that punter out.
Matt Dodge chewed him out.
Somewhere, Tom Coughlin is arguing with Matt Dodge right now. I don't think he punted again after that. Did he?
No,
I don't think he did. No. Just thinking about it, man. I remember Tom Coughlin breaking and throwing those clipboards all the time. That was my favorite thing about beating the Giants, was seeing Coughlin in those clipboards.
Yeah, that man went through a lot of clipboards.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I 100% agree. He was also the one that I was alluding to when it came to 2 and 3. But no, Deshaun was an absolute playmaker, absolute menace for all of us as opponents. So well-deserved spot on the Mount Rushmore.
Good. Earl?
Yep, he's number 3 for me. I also had that battle between 2 and 3. Dude was an explosive player, straight up villain, diabolical. Everything you name it for the opposition, he pretty much just took over. It was like each play that this dude had against one of our teams, it was crazy. Like, I followed him at the University of California, where when I saw you guys draft him, I was just like, oh, Lord, we're going to have to deal with this dude. Back-to-back games, and then not only that, he goes to the Commanders, and then he got one against us. I was mad to this day. But overall, dude's a phenomenal player, and yeah, he definitely deserves that 3rd spot on Mount Rushmore for the Eagles wide receivers.
Yep. So we're all in agreement. The 4th receiver I have on my Mount Rushmore might be a difference of opinion, but I'm gonna go with AJ Brown as my 4th receiver on the Eagles Mount Rushmore. Boy, was this an amazing acquisition by Howie Roseman. Really changed the dynamic of this team. How AJ Brown's played 47 games with the Philadelphia Eagles. 261 receptions so far in his Philadelphia Eagles career, 4,300 receiving yards, and 25 receiving touchdowns as a member of the Philadelphia Eagles. Some of his averages: 15 yards receiving per game. Games per season, 15. Why do they even have an average of that? Okay. Receptions per season, 87. Receiving yards per season, 1,300. That's the average. Average yards per game, 85.8. And receiving touchdowns per season is 8. Now, he's been a 3-time Pro Bowler, obviously a Super Bowl champion. dynamic, one of the big body receivers in the league, absolute game changer. I guess I'll mention my honorable mentions now before everybody else finishes. It was close between AJ Brown and T.O. But at the end of the day, T.O. really only had one good season with the Eagles. That was the barometer I'm using for this. I mean, T.O. was great. He was great, but for one season. Then he started doing jumping jacks and stuff on his lawn and had beef with McNabb, and that was kind of the end of that. Like I said, Tommy McDonald would have been on here if it was at before Super Bowl era. And Devontae Smith could end up being on here one day in the future. So some other receivers, obviously Chris Carter played with the Philadelphia Eagles at one time. Not his best years here. His best years was in Minnesota. The Commanders' number one receiver, Art Monk, played the Eagles, but he was past his prime at that point. So yeah, AJ Brown's my fourth receiver. What you think about that, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, man, to be honest with you, I think we're kind of birds of a feather because I also had AJ Brown as my fourth receiver here, and I think that there's some other talent, obviously, that you can go for. I think that you mentioned T.O., and if we're looking at who's the greatest receiver to play for the Eagles, I think that you can have an argument in that case for T.O. But when you're looking at the Mount Rushmore, you're looking at the entire body of work. Longevity matters. Accomplishments matter in that case. When we're talking about all of these wide receivers, AJ Brown is the only one of the four that we mentioned who's won a Super Bowl with the Eagles. Obviously Devontae Smith is also on that list, and I do agree one day he will be on this Mount Rushmore if he sticks around in Philadelphia long enough. But for me, AJ Brown has been arguably the most, not even arguably, I would call him straight up the most dominant receiver the Eagles have had since T.O., doing even occasionally some T.O.-like, not saying he is T.O., but T.O.-like things on the field. So he's incredibly impressive. Hopefully he's here for many more years. I think that he will be. And he's only going to continue to pad that resume in Philadelphia. Just to mention a couple guys like you mentioned, I think Jeremy Maclin obviously is somebody who a lot of people think about as, potentially that near that top 5 range. Certainly he spent a lot of time here. He definitely racked up the yardage as well. Somebody who I think is a little bit underrated is Fred Barnett. Doesn't really get the love that he should as much as I think. But I mean, I'll tell you this, Fred was automatic with his hands. That's one of the biggest things. Like, we think about like Jason Avant and how great he was as that kind of third down option. I mean, you look at Fred Barnett, man, and that guy just didn't drop balls, right? So really impressive. Definitely deserves some love there. Obviously, I think you're probably going to get some people who want to reminisce positively about Alshon Jeffrey. I'm not going to put him in the same, class as some of these other guys, but
yeah,
for me, it's those four, AJ Brown being the fourth, and Devontae Smith is on his way trying to knock off whomever he can. It'll either be, obviously depending on how long he's in Philadelphia, how long AJ Brown's in Philadelphia, there's a chance that, Smith replaces one of AJ Brown or Deshaun Jackson eventually.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree with that. Now?
Yeah, so I think great minds think alike here, guys, because I also had AJ Brown at number 4. I think Zach made a really good point that, longevity matters, consistency matters. And I think that AJ Brown has been a consistent force for you guys over the past few years, and he's not even done. So there's plenty more work that he's still going to put in, and we kind of already have him in this conversation. Like you said, one day Devonta Smith may even get on there. But for right now, AJ Brown, I feel like, has been your consistent key in your success over the past few years. That's why I had him in the number 4 spot.
Okay. Earl?
Yeah, I had AJ Brown as well. Great minds think alike. Wow. I had a lot of options for 4. Jeremy Maclin was one. I had even Avant in there. I had Alshon Jeffries in there. I even had T.O. in there. It seemed like there was a trend going with the Eagles with having size, speed, physicality when you need it most, making plays when you need it most, and who can change the game when you need it most. And from it, phenomenal. Lord, I got tongue tied. Sorry. Phenomenal for Mount Rushmore for the Eagles, wide receivers. The list that y'all have up there is a solid one. And I want to give credit to y'all with y'all respective receivers.
If I could just say one more thing about AJ Brown before we move on. I neglected to even say this, but what is almost as special about him on the field is the difference when he's off. And we've seen this Eagles offense look anemic without AJ Brown on the field. That's the difference that he makes. And
he's reading the book too.
Listen, man, he's locked in. It's a damn good book, must be, if he's locked in like that. But I'll tell you this, like, I love Devontae Smith. I think he's been a fantastic Eagle. He again has a chance to be one of the greatest of all time. When he's off the field, it obviously affects Philadelphia. It does not affect them to the degree that AJ Brown being missing does. So that also has to be a talking point for him.
And also, AJ Brown, when he plays, he seems to have a humble mentality as well, where it's not that he's like smack talking, but he at least does what he needs to respectfully, and then after that he may jab after, but when work's getting done, he handles work like he needs to.
Lets the play do the talking. Absolutely.
Let's not get it twisted. All receivers or all great receivers have a little bit of diva in them.
Oh yeah,
a little bit. When you know you're great and you know you're better than the corner or whoever's defending you, you're going to want the ball. I think sometimes, and this is just a Philadelphia Eagles rant here a little bit, I think the media tries to bring down AJ a little bit because
for sure.
Yeah, because he isn't always smiles and doing happy dances when everybody else scores. I guess they kind of give the narrative that AJ needs the ball all the time. Which is not what the Eagles' offense has ever been, really. I mean, when AJ gets the ball, he's dominant, don't get me wrong. But, over the last year, and I think it will continue this year, to a certain point, Eagles are a run-first team. So, and I think the person who actually should be complaining the most is Devontae. Because Devontae receptions have dropped since Saquon's been here. So, little mini rant.
Oh, no, but I mean...
everybody got to eat.
Yeah, like, you're right, but you also gotta allow Devontae to be able to do his thing. Because I mean, you got both on the field, one on one side, one on the other. If you're looking at one's getting double covered, then you definitely got to beat the 1v1s when needed. So yeah, Smitty just gotta step it up, knowing that AJ Brown's gonna get the attention, and for him to be able to take the top off the defense, that's gonna be his go-to. I mean, it's what he did in college, so you just got to get back to doing it.
Well, and I'll say this too: winning cures everything. I mean, I even had a chance to talk to Devontae after the Super Bowl, and man, to win that thing, to have the moments he did in the Super Bowl, he was excited. So obviously there's going to be those heated moments in the season, and there's a bit of a brotherhood. When you play sports together, especially football, there's a bit of that brotherhood aspect. And so there's going to be moments where you get heated with family. That's just what family does. Yeah. And there's going to be moments, where, you wanted the big piece of meat or whatever it is, like whatever the equivalent comparison you want to draw is. There's going to be times during the regular season where you feel some type of way about that. But when you look at the totality of the season and what the Eagles were able to accomplish, and they know this now. They know they can be great together. And this is what Jalen Hurts does so well, so often, where he's willing to defer to Saquon, defer to that type of offense. Because you think Jalen Hurts doesn't want to sling the ball a bit more? Of course he wants to, and show what he can really do. And you talked about the media being negative with AJ Brown. I mean, just listen to what everyone's saying. And when I say everyone, I don't mean everyone. But when you listen to the mass media talk about Jalen Hurts right now, the man was a Super Bowl MVP, and he's not getting the love that he deserves because he doesn't throw the ball often enough, even though he proved in the Super Bowl that he can do it. So, when you look at exactly when it matters most. So when you look at a guy like Devontae Smith, everyone knows what he can do. This is also why it's so important that Philadelphia does right by their guys when it comes to re-signing them, extending them early. Keeps them happy, keeps everybody fed. And then listen, there's just going to be some weeks where, hey, it's AJ's turn. Hey, it's Devontae's turn. Hey, let's get Dallas involved. Saquon. It's just with such a wealth of weapons, everybody's going to have to take their turn. But listen, at the end of the day, we're all going to win.
Amen. I agree with that. What did Jalen Hurts say one game after he passed? I think it was a game in Cincinnati. I think it was where he went to AJ Brown for the first touchdown because there was so much going on with the media talk about them two weren't together and they
something
had
about is that what you wanted to see or something like that? Yeah.
So that's what you guys wanted to see. I love it. I love Jalen. Speaking of Jalen Brown, let's get into team news. What did I say? Did I say Jalen Brown?
He's in the news. I can't blame you.
Yeah, he's Jalen Brown.
Got basketball.
Boston's wheeling, dealing everybody, so you might as well be thinking about Jalen Brown.
There's so many Jalens in sports now. I don't know what happened. Everybody's a Jalen. All right, so
a lot of Tylers too.
Yeah, a lot of Tylers. Yeah, on your team too. Yeah, a lot of Tylers.
Facts.
Team news. Not really much going on, but we were talking about Jalen Hurts. Did want to give a shout out to Jalen Hurts. He's writing a children's book. I think that's great.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I think that's great. Say what you want about Jalen Hurts on the field, off the field. The dude is a great person, really great person. Stand up guy. Jalen Hurts is really giving back to the community and the youth as well. I just wanted to shout him out on my team news segment. Zach, you had anything?
Yeah, well, I mean, just to kind of go along with, obviously he's doing the children's book is the big news, but, when we're talking about Jalen Hurts as the person, something that I like to call attention to any chance I get that not everybody knows, he's also been instrumental in supplying Philly schools with air conditioning throughout the summer. And that's something where, I mean, if you have never experienced a Philly school, during the warm season, which it gets warm during the school year. We don't have to be talking about, July where there's not necessarily always kids, but there's also always kids in the school. Let's keep that in mind. But you're talking about a guy who's, really focused on helping that next generation of people in Philadelphia and beyond. And to be able to show that kind of focus and care on his local community, but also attempting to be that inspiration to kids worldwide. This is what people want and demand of athletes, and Jalen Hurts has lived up to every last bit of it.
Shout out Jalen Hurts. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Salute
to him. All right, next up, Earl.
I honestly have no team news. The only thing I can tell you is that they finished up the mini camp. It's pretty much looking forward to training camp. That's going to be somewhere mid-July, so I should have more details on that. Still continuation for Micah's contract. I know they're trying to get that done. Hashtag pay Micah now. Hashtag let Brian cook. And just, DC for life. Oh, there was one thing also I had up there as well before we get going. They have a date for the America's team dealing with Jerry Jones and stuff, and that's gonna happen on August.
Oh, the Netflix documentary.
Yep, that abomination.
I will be seated.
That and Hard Knocks. That's a lot of Cowboys.
Oh my God!
So Netflix will have Dallas Cowboys, America's team. It starts on Netflix August 19th. So for any fans that want to see this, y'all go ahead. I'm debating if I'm gonna watch it.
Oh, you
There's enough people. I promise you, I won't. I won't.
If we talk about it, you're gonna have to watch it just to talk about it.
I don't know, man. I'll go against the grain on that. But with that being said, I saw the trailer. It piqued my interest, but I need to see Micah sign. And if they get it done before this whole Netflix thing, then by all means, I'll be front center, got my popcorn ready to be able to watch it. But until that time, it's up in the air. I digress.
You know how Jerry Jones is. He's going to wait till the season finale and then sign Micah Parsons.
I will uppercut his toupee off his head if he tries it one more time.
Oh, Earl.
All right, now what you got?
So not much team news wise, but one thing that I did find interesting that I've been kind of observing over the past few days on social media, OBJ is kind of being a little shady about wanting to come back to the Giants. So
As a player?
Yeah, like he wants to come back. He said that he never wanted to leave in the first place and that things went down the wrong way. And then today, as I'm scrolling through Instagram, there's a picture of him and his son in front of MetLife Stadium. He took him to MetLife Stadium to show him where it all began.
Wait a minute.
Murray's killing me. He said as a player?
Time out. Wait,
yeah.
No, for real though.
I think he's cooked as a player.
No, he's cooked. He's washed.
Yeah.
I always said, though, if he wanted to retire, he should sign a one-day deal with us and retire. That I'd be cool with. But bringing him back as a player, like, baby, it's over.
You know what, Mal?
Like,
if he does that and want to try to make ends, I could see him being a wide receiver coach for the Giants.
Okay.
Which is fine, by all means, but he doesn't think he's cooked yet, obviously, so he's still trying to, like, but I don't know.
You know
what?
Wide
receiver coach
I think he actually might get away with this because Josh Norman isn't playing right now.
What were you going to say, Zach?
I was going to say, I think a wide receiver coach is possible, but what I think he'd be even better at, I don't know if y'all remember that episode of The Simpsons where Homer was the celebration coach. But if you want to get a celebration coach, that'd be a pretty good role for him, I'll be honest with you.
I know, and he's just been like, the pictures with his son in front of MetLife were just extra. Like, I don't know, maybe he's just trying to play, his cards right so that a team will sign him. I don't know. Listen, in the end, I'm cool if he retires here. I just don't I think his days are done playing here. I'll leave it at that.
I don't think y'all need the headache of crash outs right now where y'all got a young receiver room.
We're chilling. Let's not disturb the peace.
You got a young nucleus over there now. You don't need that.
Yeah, no.
I don't even think he would be a great influence on Neighbors, actually.
No, he wouldn't be. So I'm good. And I think that's why he's not coming back. So he can hint at it all he wants. But
I can understand the ties because he was LSU and Neighbors is LSU stuff. So I don't know. We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah. That's all I got.
All right. So we can move on. We would have mailbag this week, but it's a Commanders mailbag and Lucas is not here. So, to Lucas, hope he's having a good time with his family. Lucas will be back. Lucas
wanted me to tell everybody that he loves Major Tutty. So send all of your questions regarding Major Tutty to the mailbag, please.
Send Major Tutty to him. He will greatly appreciate it.
Yes.
Yeah. Send it to him on Twitter. What's his name? Coach J?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So
send all of them.
Send all of them. Send all of them. So we're going to move on from the mailbag. So, Earl, it's time.
It's time.
Oh, thank you. All right. It's time for Who's That Football Player? This man was a Giant. This player played with the New York Giants back in the 1987 season. This player had 5 interceptions for 165 yards, 1 touchdown, and that was a 70-yarder. Career awards: 1-time Super Bowl champ, 1-time Pro Bowler. Maurice, myself, Zach. Who's that football player?
Now, do you know who this is?
I do know who it is, but I didn't pick the player.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
No, Lucas did. Because I answered too late. It was like 20 minutes after. Me?
Mm-hmm.
Terry Kinnard.
That's who you had too, Earl?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How I knew? He played at Clemson. For some reason, I was watching some Clemson players, and they showed he was definitely one of those All-American guys at Clemson. And I was like, oh, yeah, he played with Bill Belichick when he was coaching defense with the Giants. Yeah, he was a nice player.
Clemson safeties, I'll tell you, they're special.
Yeah, they're different.
They are. Hopefully, we got a good one in Makuba, Texas. I'm sorry.
I hope not. No, I'm just kidding.
Sorry, Earl.
That's all good. No worries. Right. But that was the Who's That Football Player for this week.
All right, poll question now.
Poll question is centered around the Philadelphia Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
So who will be the wide receiver 3 for the Eagles this upcoming season? Jahan Dotson, Johnny Wilson, Anais Smith, or Terrence Marshall? And most votes were to Jahan Dotson.
Yeah, that was the easy one.
He earned it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he
Can
definitely
I ask
earned
a question?
Yeah, that
Sure.
was a poll question.
No.
Send all your thoughts and
I want
comments.
to ask a specific question about that. Did Terrence Marshall get a single vote?
Yeah. He did.
Really?
Yes.
He did. He got one
Must
vote.
have been family.
There it is.
One vote.
He must have been
There it
family.
is.
Or
It must have been family.
Could have been him himself. With only one vote. Yeah, Dotson is clearly the number 3. Obviously, he didn't have like a spectacular season with the Eagles. He flashed in the Super Bowl. If you want to flash anywhere, it's the Super Bowl. So they have another offseason to work with Dotson, like Zach just talked about. There's a lot of weapons on this team that's going to eat eventually. From Saquon, AJ, Devontae, and Dallas Goedert is probably going to be this last year with the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think they're going to try to, send him out with a nice statistical season. So if you're playing fantasy, you might want to look at Dallas Goedert. That's all I'll say. Yeah, Dotson, I mean, he's going to eat. I mean, he'll get just a prediction. I think he's going to get around like 40 to 45 receptions next season. Couple touchdowns, hopefully. But he's a number 3, and I'd rather have him than Johnny Wilson, who can't stay healthy, or Anaya Smith, who really hasn't flashed at all. So,
do you think Wilson could probably play like a rangy tight end with his height?
I think they will try. Zach can talk about this more than me. I think they tried to tinker with him at tight end last training camp. Maybe they can do it this year. They don't. I guess they do have to clear back
because he's a big target, and
he is.
That's a lot of like size to like not be able to utilize correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And if he can just bulk up a bit, I can see him playing tight end. But if you want to keep him at receiver, you still could. He's a big target, jump ball guy.
The issue with Johnny Wilson wasn't good at route running, and he had mediocre hands. He was a big target if you can get the ball to him and catch it. I mean, that was the issue with Johnny Wilson. He had a concussion in the middle of the season as well. He has the tools. And we talked about Harold Carmichael. Johnny Wilson is a big target. If they can get him going and acclimating into the offense, he could be a weapon down the road.
True. Yeah, I think that's the hope, is that kind of long-term development, not necessarily as a tight end, but just in general, to be able to acclimate him to being a little more polished on the field. For now, I think you kind of mentioned it, that it's just that big body end zone target, right? I don't necessarily think that he's going to be working too many of those tight end snaps. The team's pretty high on Calcaterra. And in addition to that, they did bring in Kylan Grayson and Harris Bryant, who are not world beaters by any means, but you think one of these guys is probably going to be able to stick around, or they might, obviously so much happens now between now and the start of the season. We're going to go through a whole nother wave of players being cut from other teams. So you never know. There could be somebody who shakes loose if they decide, oh, hey, this is a person who, it may be a player drafted within the first 5 rounds of a recent draft who moves on from their team, and you think, oh, well, maybe this is an opportunity to kind of buy low on a guy with some potential, and they move on for him as that third option. But I don't think Johnny Wilson's going to be utilized as a tight end threat, but definitely as a either short yardage or specifically in the red zone kind of a target. I think you will see him utilized possibly even more than last year.
Okay. All right, so with that said, let's get to team trivia. I'm going to do it for Lucas.
I think it's dealing with Dallas.
Yeah,
it is Dallas.
Cowboys.
I had it up. It didn't disappear.
Capture it. Let it slip.
All right, so team trivia, Dallas Cowboys. Who has the second most fumbles in Cowboys franchise history with 71?
He would.
Did he stump you with this one, Earl?
Oh, nah. He picks the weirdest stats for Dallas.
Yeah,
like,
he does.
It grinds my gears, man.
Yeah. Mal, do you know?
71 fumbles. I'm gonna go with Don Meredith.
Zach?
That dude fumbled all the time.
Zach?
Yeah, I'm torn between two. Because Miles said Don Meredith, I'm gonna go Tony Romo because he had that fumbleitis, you know.
Yeah, he did have the fumbleitis also.
Earl, who you got?
Yeah, it's Don Meredith. That's 71. Yeah, it was brutal. Man,
He was a fumble machine.
dude
I
had
remember that.
skillet pan hands. It was ridiculous. But yeah, he was. I think he tied. Yeah, he was second with the most of them. So yeah, it's Don Meredith. Nice try, buddy. Nice try.
The answer is Don Meredith. Yeah, I wanted. I had Dorsett at first, but
Okay.
I think about it. He was one. Correct. He was one, right? Or was it Emmitt Smith? Well,
I think it was Dorsett.
Yeah, I think it was Dorsett.
So was Emmitt third?
Yeah, I think he was third for what he had. I don't have the list in front of me, but
yeah,
I think he was third.
It's just crazy. It is crazy that the quarterback would have the second most fumbles.
Yeah, it's crazy work.
Yeah. All right, Zach.
Yeah.
It's time for us to wrap up. Want to thank you for coming on, Zach.
Yes,
really,
Zach, as always.
Really do appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you.
Happy to be here. Love coming on.
Yeah, and tell everybody where they can find you at and what's coming up.
Yeah, for sure. So you can find a lot of my work at phillysportsnetwork.com and Metro Philadelphia as well. And then as of, I guess tomorrow is my first article dropping. You can check me out on Duke Wire as well, where I'm covering all things related to Duke University for USA Today's sports group. So, we covered a lot of, obviously the basketball team, but, we covered some Duke football there as well. So be sure to check it out. You'll be able to read about some of the I know it's not too often that Duke gets a lot of great football prospects in there, but I think this year we're going to have a few options that you might want to read about, especially as we get closer and closer to draft time next year. So definitely be sure to check it out.
Unrelated, well, actually kind of related. I'm pretty sure Daniel Jones's brother plays on the Duke basketball team.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I've never thought about checking that connection.
Yeah, his name's Bates Jones.
Wow, what a name.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's from the South,
Jones.
Baby.
He's
from the South and he's white.
Isn't that like a last name as a first name? Bates?
Yeah, Bates Jones.
Bates Jones.
Mm-hmm.
He about to make a name for himself.
So he did play for Duke.
He did. Okay.
He has since graduated, but he was a 6'8". He was up there.
6'8". Okay.
6'8".
Imagine if Daniel Jones was 6'8". He might still be a giant.
I know.
I mean, he'd be a literal giant. I don't think he'd be a New York giant, though.
All right, now you can outro us.
Yeah, sounds good. So, Zach, as always, thank you so much for coming on. We love having you. Appreciate all of your insight always. Make sure you guys give Zach a follow and follow some of his work. And while you're at it, please make sure that you follow us on our socials, Facebook, X, and Instagram, 14 Rings and NFC East Podcasts, as well as subscribe to our YouTube channel, 14 Rings and NFC East Podcasts, as well as on Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Apple Music. Everybody have a great day. Bye.
Peace.
Blessings. Much love.